Hello Proponomics people, and welcome to this week's 4 Pillars of Investment video. So again, a quick reminder, the 4 Pillars is a strategic framework that I started to draw together back in 2016. It's been a work in progress. It's something that one day I will write a book about. But the point of the 4 Pillars is these are the 4 strategic pillars of any property business, whether it be investment, development or trading, that I think you need to follow in order to have a successful business. I also think this can apply to someone who's got no property yet or one property, all the way up to 10,000 properties plus. So pretty ambitious, I know, but stick with it and you'll see what I mean. So each of the 4 pillars are divided then into 7 sub-pillars. So the first pillar, which we're still talking about at the moment, is the supply pipeline, or in plain English, where do you get your deals from? And how do you get them, apart from anything else? So the sub-pillars are divided into 3 more entry-level sub-pillars, so anybody can get into those, and those are, in this pipeline, they are estate agents, they are auction houses, and they are sourcers, right? I think that's available to anybody. I'm not saying you necessarily should go and do that, but I think they're available to anybody who's willing to put the work in. Now I'm going on to the more detailed, involved, not necessarily for the new people to property sub-pillars that are more complex. So this one today is about direct to vendor. So what does direct to vendor mean? Well, obviously it means bypassing those marketplaces that I've talked about, which are basically the open market and the auction market. You're bypassing those marketplaces and you are going direct to the vendor of a property. How might you do that? Well, of course, you might be direct to a vendor when you do a house viewing, but you can't necessarily go around cutting out estate agents. Otherwise, the relationships that you build will not be long-term and just won't last and won't work for you, especially if you're sticking to a single geographical area. But I would always recommend doing business on an ethical and transparent basis. And don't just say it, actually do it, apart from anything else. So this is bypassing that mechanism. You might be leafleting people. You might be running internet ads. That's all the sort of stuff we're going to be talking about in this video. So direct to vendor. How many properties change hands in this way every year? Probably around about 10,000. We don't have great figures. But between 10,000 and 15,000 would be my best estimate from all the stuff I've stitched together over the years. So this particular part of the deals pipeline is the one that I've spent the very most time on studying, first of all, and then attempting to implement in a few different ways. And I'm going to tell you about that. So some people are doing direct to vendor on a pretty industrial scale. So I would include people like We Buy Any Home and a whole raft of other property buyers. If you ever want to look at a register of property buyers who are potentially worth a conversation, by the way, go and check out the National Association of Property Buyers. Well worth a look. Then you've got to go and do the rest of the work yourself. So you might be looking at, as I say, leaflet campaigns, pay-per-click. So we could split it into online and offline. And it really is going to be what suits your skill set better. So I'm not saying you need to be a coder to run online marketing. Right? You need to find people who know how to do it, that you can know, like and trust and do business with. Again, easier said than done. But understand this, some of the competition are spending upwards of £150,000 a month, each company, on marketing. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you they're running a pretty successful business, doesn't it? Because otherwise, how would they afford 150k a month? But it means that first 150k has got to come from the deal uplift that they're getting. And they're creating all sorts of deals and ways in which for vendors to exit. They might be buying the property. They might be selling it onto an investor. They might be doing an assisted sale kind of structure. They might be flipping it into an auction. They might be doing all sorts of other things. They might be doing deferred considerations. There could be a million different things they know how to do and are doing with vendors. But generally speaking, they're going to be focusing on very motivated vendors who perhaps haven't even got time to put it in an auction or have just got fed up of a property and want to get rid of it. So pay-per-click would include Google. It would include Facebook these days, very much so. Sponsored ads and things like that, targeting certain areas. And they're looking for really one of the 3 Ds, death, debt or divorce. Realistically, there are more nuances than that, of course, but that's their central focus. And what you're going to get when you target online, you're going to get younger as a rule. And remember, the average property owner is of a reasonable age in the first place. But younger people often getting leads at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Like all of these sorts of businesses, it's very important to call them ASAP. So they will probably get a call at 9 o'clock in the morning the next day. And it's not for the faint-hearted, because you will have to deal with some really significantly distressed and stressed situations. So behaving and doing those ethically is a real challenge apart from anything else. So that's the online side of things. Now, if we consider offline, as I say, we're talking about things like leaflets, business cards, drops like that, And then ultimately, we're going to be getting those delivered probably by someone. Ideally, we'd have an edge in the printing department. We need to create something attractive, and we need to communicate with those vendors. So we need to get that out to target areas. What do target areas look like? Depends what you want to buy, right? But also, so if you're looking for investment property, if you're sourcing property for people, you need to think about all of that sort of stuff. But you're basically using older school methods of communication. Now, people think maybe these are dead. You might be advertising in the newspaper, for example. Not too many people do that anymore. That was very popular 10, 15 years ago, and yielded a lot of fruit apart from anything else. But remember, you're talking about the demographic of the people you're going to buy houses from, not what you might think is valid these days, such as everything's online, blah, blah, blah. Not true. Plenty of offline can work as well. So in terms of direct to vendor, we run a very small direct to vendor side compared to the size of some of the companies that I've mentioned, spend a lot less money, get a lot more bang for buck. And what do we end up inevitably doing? Specialising in difficult problems that other people either can't solve or don't know how to solve. And that's where our edge lies. So we do a very small amount of deals direct to vendor, numerous number wise, but there tends to be a very large margin in them. And I studied these businesses in significant detail for a number of years and came to the conclusion that the best ones, and this was all pre-COVID, but the best ones are ones that ultimately have high margin and lower volume. So low volume might be 20 or 30 deals a month. That still might be quite a lot. But compared to the people who are spending 150k on marketing, who are doing maybe 200 to 300 a month, and they've got their own estate agencies and they've got all these other things going on. You know, a lot of the big businesses, they're doing most of their business with traditional estate agency or non-traditional estate agency. So quick sale estate agency is very much the biggest part. And the cash buying and the portfolio building is a small sliver of that. And they are different skill sets. But if you think about it like things dripping down a funnel, vendor starts on the market, then maybe goes on the market with a quick sale agent or an auction house. Still, maybe something doesn't work. That's when they might be looking for a cash buyer. And this is why, apart from anything else, when you look at sourcing property, you have to keep hammering your pipeline to understand people's circumstances change, people's attitudes change, and the market speaks to them apart from anything else. So my opinion of DTV, you need at least 250 grand to consider starting a serious DTV business, and ideally sales management experience apart from anything else. So that will put off, I'm sure, 99.9% of the people watching this video. That's only my personal belief. Some people might think it's a bit of a limiting belief, and it can be done. And it's true that really anything can be done in business if you've got the mindset and you want to go through all of that. But I don't see that being particularly profitable in comparison to the route that I chose, which was to work with the traders who run those businesses in a much better way than I would, in a much more profitable way anyway. Not that it's necessarily better, but it's definitely more profitable. They don't want to hold on to stock. I do want to hold on to stock, and I've kind of married myself together with them. So I hope that helps give you a few tips about direct to vendor.